Okay, so let's talk about difference between homeschool and school at home. And to start with, let's talk about what's been going on the last few months here in the whole country, North Carolina, but where people have been thrown into schooling at home.
Yeah.
And that's really crisis schooling.
Yeah.
Or emergency schooling with no preparation, no planning,
No supplies.
no real support. So
Yeah.
that is not homeschooling or virtual schooling
Yeah.
in any way from what we know as homeschooling.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I do happen to know. I mean, I know a lot of public school families, and they're working. Parents work, and they had like really no warning. Like this came, and
Very
even
sudden.
the school system
Yes.
wasn't prepared
Right.
to deal with it,
Right.
and so it was chaos at first. And I think a big difference that homeschoolers are kind of seeing with what's going on is what we see is a circumstantial, like it's driven by our current circumstances. It's stressful, it's awkward, it's uncomfortable, and we're just trying to survive. Like, we guys get through this, right? Where homeschoolers are taking this as an opportunity, like, okay, well, these are our circumstances. How can we use this to grow closer as a family, serve our community? You know, what is God trying to teach me here? Or, you know, there's just the focus is different, the mindset is different. It is just really hard to be told you're going to educate your kids at home and have no say in the matter.
Yeah.
I just simply could not imagine
Right.
someone telling me what to do there.
Right.
That would be very
So
frustrating.
people shouldn't think that they would be a failure at homeschooling
Oh my gosh.
based on this
That didn't go
experience
right. Yeah,
for the
for
last
sure.
couple of months.
Like, if you're
because-
struggling right now, I seriously don't blame you. There's a lot of still ongoing lessons, and
Right.
I think that's where we focus on different things. Like, yes, this is a circumstance that we can't avoid, but it can be a learning tool to help us grow.
I think homeschoolers tend to have that mindset, no matter what
Anyway.
is thrown at us. How are we going to learn? What can we learn from this? How can we make this
Yeah.
into a
Yeah.
lesson?
Yeah.
Mom, don't make it about
Right.
school.
Right. So, I mean, okay, great. We've got a pandemic. Let's learn. What is a pandemic?
Let's
study
learn about a
this.
virus.
Oh, what's a virus here?
And they snuffed that out real quick. They're like, Mom, you don't have to make this a
No.
lesson.
We try. But yeah, so moving past crisis schooling, so there's still a difference between homeschool and school at home. And one of the things, it's fairly recent for those of us who've homeschooled a long time. So I've homeschooled over 23 years. But in the recent times, we now have online schooling, and there's online public school. So there are a couple of options for public school students to do school at home through the public school system by enrolling in an online charter public school. And in North Carolina, there are 2 online charter schools. NCVA is North Carolina Virtual Academy, and then NCCA is North Carolina Cyber Academy. And both of those are and where you enroll your child in that program. It's a lottery system, so you have to apply and be accepted like in most charter schools. And then it's a full-time school where you're doing your school via the internet. And in those cases, when you're enrolled in one of those online public schools, you're not a homeschooler by legal definition in the state of North Carolina. So in North Carolina, to open a homeschool, you file a notice of intent, which is just a form you fill out to say you're opening a homeschool with the Division of Non-Public Education. But if you're enrolled in one of the online public schools, you don't do that because you're still enrolled in the public school system.
Right.
So that's a difference, and that's something that people find confusing, but it's kind of whether you are under the public school administration of the state or the non-public private school. And homeschools are considered a private school in North Carolina. We actually open a school that is under the authority of the non-public school.
Right.
So there is support there for people who choose that, and that would be schooling in the closest way to the public school, because you're still using the public school
Right.
curriculum
Right.
and the same kind of model. But again, I don't know how easy it is to get in, but I know you do have to apply for those.
So it's like a remote learning.
It's remote learning, right?
Essentially.
Schooling at home.
Okay.
So you're out of the public school. So for kids who have chronic illnesses or
Yeah.
different reasons, we're going to a school building is not a good idea. They can do that at home.
But this is also good information for people who, like we were talking about this before, you know, where maybe the mom and dad work full time, but maybe they don't feel comfortable sending their kids back to school given
Right.
the current situation. So these are just, to me, these are just great opportunities that North Carolinians have to say, hey, I don't want to go and open up a homeschool, but I don't want to send my kids back to school, which I'm not sure I don't know when they're going to go back.
Yeah.
But, you know.
So to look into those,
Yeah,
I don't know, you know, again, if enrollment is open now or not,
Yeah.
but that's something to look into. A third public school option for remote learning is the North Carolina Virtual Public School, which is different in that it offers individual classes to all students, whether they are public school, private school, or homeschool. So as a homeschooler, you can take a class through the North Carolina Virtual Public School. I think they do offer like some AP classes for high schoolers who want to do AP, that might be a way to do it. So again, you pay for those, and you would just, we'll put the links on this somehow.
Okay.
On a slide so that people can see how to get those informations. But that's, again, through the public school system, those three options. Now there is also online virtual school done through private schools, private programs, where you enroll your child or you sign up for either a whole year of instruction, your whole grade, or maybe individual classes. And those do fall under the homeschool private school law.
Right.
So in that case, if you're going to take your child out of public school and have them do their education through one of those programs, you would open a homeschool. So you have to file your notice of intent if your child is 7 years old or older, and open a homeschool, and then you can enroll them through. And there's like Liberty University online, or Oak Meadows School, or Penn Foster. I mean, there's a whole lot of different
Right. Yeah.
ones out there that people use, again, for whether it's their whole grade level or individual classes or whatever. So, and a lot of those, again, are structured more like public school classes in the way that you're instructed. You might be either doing your work online, but you might have textbooks that you're working through, submitting your homework and grades. Some of the programs, it's live, where you're actually having to log on at a certain time for your class, and you're interacting. But then your schedule is, you have to make sure that you have access in your home for those particular times. But some of the other programs they're recorded, or can do it at your own pace or on your own schedule. So those are things to look into as for families who want those kinds of programs. But just realizing you don't have a lot of flexibility. You don't have a lot of control over what's being taught, how it's being taught, when it's being taught, when you sign up for those kinds of programs. So a lot of us, we view that as school at home also. You're kind of taking that public school model and doing it at home. But it is still homeschooling in North Carolina. So, and then separate from that is as parents who choose curriculum, if you're not doing it online or virtual, you're doing, you're going out and researching and finding curriculum and or a plan or books or whatever you decide after you've done your research to then do at home as homeschoolers. But the important distinction I think we wanted to make here is that homeschools the parent has to open a school under the Division of Non-Public Education by filing a notice of intent, unless you're enrolled in a public school program, whether it's at the public school or virtual, it's still a public school program. So, is there anything else you can think of? I think those are the main things we wanted to talk about.
Well, and sometimes homeschoolers, it's not really school at home, but especially as children get older, will choose to do an online class, which that's kind of a different thing, because a parent, you're choosing for that topic this, and you may even choose it based on curriculum or based on other parent recommendations. Right. You still lose some flexibility, but not as much as doing a full online curriculum. Right.
And another option for high schoolers, which is the dual enrollment.
Yes. Right.
Where you still have your homeschool, but your children who are high school age might be able to take college classes either at the community colleges or other colleges and universities offer dual enrollment programs. In North Carolina, the community college dual enrollment is free, where you pay for dual enrollment typically at a another institution, but you can earn college credit at the same time you're earning high school credit. So for high schoolers, that's really a
good deal.
Cool thing. It's a benefit.
And I think sometimes what people don't realize is that one semester of a college class, mid-August till early December, is one whole year of high school credit.
Right.
So I didn't know that.
Sometimes, see?
Oh, look at that.
Right.
So you do 3 classes in the fall and spring, if you're old enough, junior or senior, and that's your whole high school year. You're not doing,
Right.
It's really
and you can
awesome.
do some homeschoolers will have their high schooler earn an associate's degree at the same time that they're finishing their high school program. But not everybody. Some
and you get credit for both though, so you'll get credit for the high school.
So that goes on your high school transcript
and your college.
And it's your high school.
Wow.
But you also are earning those college degrees. So we didn't do the whole thing, but my kids all did a few classes.
Yes,
as dual enrollment, and they were great for. It gave them that experience of being in a classroom in a college, learning how to use the online portals, and they did go to college with some credits that were already applying to. So my youngest one actually it was a whole semester's worth that he already had covered before he started school.
Yes.
So
my oldest one had 24 hours actually when he went. So he's been a full-time college student a year. But he's almost a junior.
To recap, like we were talking about, that the difference between homeschool and school at home is really if you file a notice of intent with the Division of Non-Public Education to open a homeschool, and then you choose how that's going to look, whether you are enrolling in a online public school, virtual school, a co-op, doing all the teaching yourself, finding your curriculum, whatever that is. But there's also do school at home through the public school system, but you do not file a notice of intent and you're not considered a homeschooler when you do that. And then the styles of homeschooling, there's all kinds of different styles, and some look more like school, public school, than others. And we're going to talk about some of those later.